Hi. It didn't start the way the stories usually go. There was no raised voice, no broken plates, no threats tossed like daggers in the heat of an argument. It started with a sigh, one of those long, slow exhales that say everything and nothing at once. She was brushing her hair in the mirror. I was lacing my shoes, getting ready for work. We weren't fighting. At least, I didn't think we were. You know, she said, eyes still on her reflection. Sometimes it feels like I'm not even allowed to make mistakes. I paused, looked up. What do you mean? You triple-check the grocery list before I go shopping. You redo the laundry if I didn't fold it your way. You go over our budget every night like I'm a risk to it. You even texted me last week because I bought name-brand cereal. She wasn't angry, just tired. And that made it worse somehow. I wasn't trying to micromanage, I said. I just thought we agreed to be careful this month. That's the thing. It's always we when you talk, but somehow it's you making all the decisions. That one hit harder than I expected. I didn't say much after that, just nodded and finished tying my shoes. But on the drive to work, it played in my head like a broken radio. Was she right? Was I too controlling? I thought I was being responsible, careful, a good husband. I took pride in managing things, the bills, the car maintenance, our vacation plans, her insurance renewals, even her gym membership. It wasn't about power. It was about making life easier. At least, that's what I told myself. But maybe it hadn't felt like help to her. Maybe it felt like a cage with velvet lining. That night, I offered something radical. I made her tea. Chamomile, the kind she liked when she wanted to feel grounded, and sat across from her in the kitchen. Maybe I've been holding the wheel too tightly, I said. If you want to take more control of things, I'm okay with that. Actually, I think it's a good idea. She blinked. Not suspicious, exactly, but uncertain. You serious? I nodded. You said you feel stifled. I don't want to be that guy. You take over the bills for a bit. Budget, credit cards, payments. Let's see how it goes. She smiled, and not the smug kind. The kind I fell in love with. Grateful, surprised, a little relieved. For a couple of weeks, things were calm. Maybe even better. She seemed lighter, more confident. She even teased me when I reminded her once about the water bill. See? Still trying to run the show, she said, laughing. I laughed too. It felt like progress. Then the calls started coming. First it was the internet provider. Mr. Jenkins, we just wanted to check. Your auto pay seems to have been disabled, and your last bill is overdue. I chalked it up to a mix-up. Then the electric company called. Then our landlord. I didn't say anything to her at first. I figured maybe she forgot, or thought she'd already paid. But then the credit card company left a voicemail. One of those firm, professional ones. Your balance is past due, and your card is temporarily suspended pending payment. I played it back twice. She'd maxed it out. Not just a little over, maxed. And we weren't talking about emergency spending. We were talking retail, beauty treatments, a day spa in Santa Monica I didn't even know she knew about. I waited for her to come home that night. She was late, something about drinks after work. When she walked in, she kissed me on the cheek like nothing was wrong and started humming while taking off her shoes. Hey, I said softly. We need to talk. The humming stopped. She froze mid-step. What is it? I got a call from the bank. Credit card's frozen. She didn't look shocked. Not exactly. But her eyes darted away. I was going to handle it. When? I don't know. Tomorrow? I slid the printouts across the table. I'd gone online and looked through every transaction. You've spent over $5,000 this month, Jenna. And not on bills. On whatever this is. She crossed her arms. Why were you checking? I thought this was my responsibility now. That's not fair, I said, trying to keep my voice level. I trusted you with it. I didn't check until people started calling. She exhaled sharply, then snapped. See? You don't trust me. That's the problem. You say you're giving me control, but the moment something doesn't go your way, you're all over it. I trusted you, Jenna, I said, quieter now. That's why this hurts. Because you didn't just miss a payment. You buried us in debt and didn't say a word. I didn't bury us, she said. You make it sound like we're bankrupt. It's just a few payments. Jenna, I said, leaning forward. We've never carried a balance on that card. Ever. You spent more in 3 weeks than we normally do in 2 months. She didn't reply, just looked past me, as if the wall behind me had something more comforting to offer than the truth between us. I think it hit me right then. Not the money, not even the lies. It was the moment I realized she wasn't sorry. Not really. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I was angry, though, God knows, I had a right to be, but because my brain just wouldn't stop spinning. I kept replaying it. The defensiveness in her voice. The absence of guilt. The ease with which she dismissed $5,000 like it was the price of a latte. In the morning, she acted like nothing had happened. Made herself a smoothie, kissed me on the cheek again. I stood at the sink rinsing my coffee cup, watching her like a man trying to understand the stranger who just moved into his house and borrowed his wife's skin. "Did you call the credit card company?" I asked. She didn't even look up. "Not yet." I nodded. Just nodded. No fight. No lecture. I'd already made a quiet decision, not out of spite, but out of something colder, something sadder. She said she wanted responsibility, so I gave it to her. All of it. I moved our joint checking account into a solo account under my name. I shut down auto-pay on the utilities and redirected the mail to my office. I canceled the second card on my business account and stopped covering her subscriptions, all of them. Spotify, Netflix, her monthly lash kit, everything. And I didn't tell her. She said I was too controlling. So I let go. And I waited. The first sign came a few days later. A text. "Babe, I think my Spotify's glitching. Can you check?" I just texted back. Not a glitch. No reply. Then came the second. Her eyebrows drawn in frustration at the front door, tugging at a package tag that read insufficient payment information. The third was bigger. She stormed into the kitchen, holding her phone like it was on fire. "My hair appointment declined. Do you know anything about that?" "I told you," I said calmly. I stepped back. "You said you wanted to manage your own stuff." "I meant the bills, not everything." "That was part of the bills, Jenna. Or did you think the money just appeared there every month?" She blinked, then turned away without a word. I watched her, hands shaking as she reopened her laptop, probably logging into sites she'd never had to manage before. Password resets, billing errors, account verifications, all that invisible labor she used to call my thing. Now it was hers, and she was drowning. By the second week, I noticed the tension in her jaw. She was barely sleeping. Her nails weren't done. Her blowouts went from twice a week to none at all. The spa appointment reminders stopped appearing on our shared calendar. The ring light she used for her Instagram stories gathered dust. Her pride kept her quiet for a while. But eventually, the cracks began to show. "I don't think this arrangement is working," she said one evening, standing in the doorway with her arms folded. "What arrangement?" "You pretending like you're some innocent bystander while our life falls apart." I set down my book. "I'm not pretending. I'm watching. You wanted space to manage your own finances. I gave you that. I didn't ask you to vanish from the picture completely. You asked me to stop controlling everything. So I did. I'm letting you lead." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." I stood up, slower than I needed to. Walked past her to the fridge. Opened it. Took a long drink of water just to buy myself the space not to lose it. Then I turned. "Jenna, do you even know how much our mortgage is?" She blinked. "Do you know how much the car insurance costs? Or what we spend on groceries in a normal month? Do you know which credit cards report to which bureaus? Or how late fees stack?" She said nothing. "You thought control was about power," I said. "It wasn't. It was about responsibility. The weight of keeping us afloat. You resented me for holding the crown. Now you're wearing it." Her eyes shimmered, but not from tears. No, it was something uglier. Fury? Embarrassment? Maybe both. "Don't talk to me like I'm a child," she snapped. "I made a few mistakes. You're acting like I crashed our whole future. I'm acting like someone who's been picking up the pieces quietly for years." That silenced her, because it was true. The vacations? Planned to the dollar. The new couch she begged for last fall. Paid in installments I hid from her because I didn't want her to feel guilty. Even the dinners she surprised me with. Half the time, I called the restaurant afterward to double-check the tip. I didn't do it to control her. I did it because I didn't want her to feel the weight I was carrying. But now that I'd let go, it was crashing down on her. Hard. And here's the kicker. She didn't come to me for help. She didn't apologize. She didn't say, "You were right." No, she doubled down. That weekend, I overheard her on the phone with her sister. "I don't know why he's doing this," she whispered, pacing the patio. "It's like he wants me to fail. He thinks this proves something. But he's just being cruel." That word, cruel, echoed in my head. Because it wasn't cruelty. It was clarity. This wasn't about money anymore. It was about her refusal to see me, to really see me, as the man who'd built the foundation beneath her feet. quietly, lovingly, without needing applause. Now that I'd stepped back, she wasn't grateful for the space. She was furious she had to stand on her own. But the moment that changed everything, the one I'll never forget, came the following Thursday night at a restaurant. Her card declined. Not once. Not twice. Free swipes. Free beeps. Do you have another card? The waiter asked gently. She looked at me. And for the first time, I didn't move. The silence between that question and her answer felt longer than our entire marriage. The waiter stood there, polite but clearly uncomfortable. Jenna's face turned the shade of her Merlot. She glanced at me, not with panic, but expectation. Like I was supposed to do something. Like I always had. Only this time, I didn't. I just sipped my water and said, I think he's waiting. She blinked. Swallowed hard. Can you just cover it? I'll Venmo you. My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. You said you wanted to handle things. I didn't say I wanted to be humiliated. No, I said. But that's what happens when you spend without thinking. When you assume someone else will catch the fall. She looked away, biting her lip. I could see it. Not just the embarrassment, but something deeper. A resentment she hadn't fully articulated yet. I ended up paying, of course. Not because I wanted to. Because I couldn't bear to watch her unravel in public like that. The waiter smiled politely, thanked us, and walked away like he hadn't just watched a small fracture crack into something much wider. We didn't speak on the drive home. At least, not until we pulled into the driveway. She sat there, seatbelt still fastened, staring out the windshield. I miss how it used to be, she said finally. When things were simple. When we were on the same team. We were always on the same team, I said. You just stopped trusting the quarterback. That earned a sideways look. Don't turn this into some football metaphor. I smiled a little. Fair, but you know what I mean. She looked down at her lap. I didn't mean to let it get this far. I nodded. I know. And I didn't mean to make you feel like the bad guy. But I think what hit me hardest wasn't her apology. It was the fact that she didn't know what she was apologizing for. She wasn't sorry for what she'd done. She was sorry for how it looked. And that was the moment I realized something I hadn't dared admit before. I wasn't in love with her anymore. Not because of the money. Not because of the lies. But because somewhere along the line, respect had died a slow, quiet death between us. She didn't value what I did. And I couldn't unsee that. That weekend, I packed a bag. Just one. I told her I needed space. And for once, she didn't argue. Maybe she felt it too. The slow unraveling of something we'd both pretended was still tightly woven. I rented a place across town. A quiet studio over a florist shop. The kind of place where nobody knew my name and nobody asked questions. I started walking more. Reading more. Cooking for myself. I found a strange peace in managing only my own chaos. She texted a few times. Short messages. Hope you're doing okay. Miss you. Can we talk? I answered. Politely. Gently. But I kept the boundaries in place. She asked if I was seeing someone. I wasn't. I told her that. But I also told her I was seeing myself for the first time in years. And that, surprisingly, was enough. Months passed. Bills went unpaid, then paid late. She started selling handbags online, tried freelance design work, even offered to go back to bartending like she had when we met. I wished her well. I really did. But I didn't go back. Because love can survive a lot. Arguments, mistakes, even betrayal, but it struggles in the absence of respect. And once she lost that for me, everything else started to rot. The final straw came on a rainy Tuesday. She called, voice shaky. My car just got repossessed. I closed my eyes. Let the silence fill the line. I'm sorry, she said. I messed up. And she had. Not because she couldn't handle the responsibility, but because she never wanted it. She just wanted the illusion of control, the spotlight without the stage work. I didn't gloat. Didn't say, I told you so. I just listened. Quietly. I thought I could do it on my own, she said. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. I know. But you didn't want to do it with me. That's where we lost each other. The divorce was civil. Clean. No drawn-out fights. No courtroom fireworks. She took what little was left. I kept the rest. And we both walked away with scars that didn't show up in bank statements. Sometimes people don't want freedom. They just want to feel like they chose the leash. She said I was too controlling. So I let her control her own bills. The credit card declined faster than her excuses. And I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone, and for yourself, is let them feel the weight of what they asked for. even if it breaks them, even if it breaks you. Because some lessons don't fit into budgets. They only come when the silence echoes louder than the swipe of a card. Bye-bye.